You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
Murder on today's Dan Wickline Show. Hey everybody, welcome to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. Today is Wednesday. Yesterday we had a new episode of Only Murders in the Building drops. So we will be talking about that in a little bit. But I was already thinking that maybe we should spend a little more time this week on the two Marvel trailers that dropped, and then Marvel went and dropped more. Now, we already got the She-Hulk trailer, Murder Most Wickline. I like that. But we got the She-Hulk trailer over the weekend, and we've kind of diced it and dissected it, and Wong's going to be in it. Oh, it's going to be this, is going to be that. Daredevil's at the end, and maybe that's the red and yellow costume. It's definitely the yellow and red costume. So we got a lot of stuff out of that. But then they dropped this little featurette this morning, which I think gave us some new footage, but also gave us quite a bit of information. So I've gotten JD to grab it for us, and we're going to watch it real quick, and then we'll talk about it.
It's true. I am a Hulk. Jennifer Walters is an attorney who has accidentally taken in the Hulk's blood and has become
like a chick Hulk. A She-Hulk? Exactly.
She-Hulk, attorney at law.
That's got a nice ring to it.
That name better not stick.
There's something so surreal and so funny about a giant 6'7" Hulk in the courtroom.
It was about putting a real human being into these absurd situations.
It's just like as cool and edgy as we can get away with.
Girl, your ass looks crazy right now. It's something that you think you knew, which is law shows, and something that you think you know, which is Marvel shows, smashed together.
This show is so much fun.
It all has this tongue-in-cheek, self-referential thing going on.
In the comics, she broke the fourth wall and was super meta.
Just want to make sure that you don't think this is one of those cameo every week type of shows. Well, except Bruce. And Blonsky. And Wong.
She spent all this time becoming a lawyer, and this idea of being a superhero is not appealing to her.
Being a superhero is a trial by fire.
Oh, I'm not a superhero. I just want to be a normal, anonymous lawyer.
There is no going back to what you were before.
Who's gonna protect the world? It's not people like you.
This is expanding the definition of what a Marvel Studios production can be.
This is a radical revolutionary show.
Can we get some shots, please? It's an emergency.
All right, we got some important things that come out of that, which I'm surprised because we got the trailer just the other day, but now we're getting this featurette and we see stuff like, okay, In the comics, Jen gets hit in a drive-by, and I think JD's making a point that perhaps the character hating their own name thing has been overdone just a little. But in the comics, Jennifer is shot in a drive-by. Bruce is there and gives her a blood transfusion to save her life, and that's how she becomes She-Hulk. What we see in the trailer is we see part of a car accident. We see her and Bruce kind of laying together after the accident, and it looked like some of his blood might have got into her system. I'm not sure exactly how they're going to make that work, but you'll notice that there's been some question on when all this takes place, because Bruce's arm is fully healed, as the Hulk, where the last time we saw him, he was in a sling, both in Endgame and then in the end credits of Shang-Chi. Well, we see him on the ground, his head's bleeding, stuff like that, but his arm's in the sling. He's Bruce, but his arm is in the sling. So this is definitely after Endgame, if that is where her origin happens. So he does recover from that injury, which I know it was kind of questionable for a while. Would he regain that strength? Would he get his arm back to full health? Or did the Infinity Stones permanently damage him? And the impression I got from the Russo brothers was, yeah, he's permanently damaged. Maybe not. Maybe not. We seem to be a much healthier Hulk in these episodes. So that is definitely interesting. It looks like Wong may be in the series more than we thought. My guess is that he's the one that comes to the law firm asking them to represent Blonsky, because we know now that Wong and Blonsky have a relationship. We don't know how it happened. We don't know how they connected, but there appears to be a relationship because of Shang-Chi as well. And now it looks like he's popping up in multiple things. There's a scene where he comes through a portal in front of a microphone, and I'm not sure if that's supposed to be in a courtroom where he's coming in to testify, or if that's a karaoke bar where we now know he likes to do karaoke because of Shang-Chi as well. Which then makes me wonder, will we get a Shang-Chi cameo? Because that seems like that would make a lot of sense here if they just showed up in one of the karaoke nights. And I do like the fact that the breaking the fourth wall thing is something straight out of the comics. She-Hulk did it in the comics long time ago. And seeing her do it here, it's neat when she turns away and says, no, he doesn't mean that, and that. But seeing her in the car talking about how, well, I want you to know this is not a cameo a week show, except for Bruce and Blonsky and Wong. It's like, yeah, they're going to be having a lot of cameos, because we also see, oh yeah, Deadpool definitely stole it from her. Yeah, Joe Kelly and Walter McDaniels, when they started doing their run, brought in a lot of the elements that we now know as Deadpool. Deadpool didn't even have that kind of stuff. He was just kind of this more of a Spider-Man type where he was just constantly talking. But the breaking the fourth wall, a lot of the stuff that we now associate with Deadpool came much later after the creation of the character, when he got his first series with, like I said, Joe Kelly and Walter McDaniel. So, but yeah, so the She-Hulk thing I think we're getting a lot of extra cameos, a lot of things like, well, we know Daredevil, but she doesn't mention Daredevil. So I think that it probably happens later in the series. But we've seen a couple clips of Frogman. We got the old guy that jumps out of the window and crashes into the car. And we got whoever that is that transforms into like an elf. Well, they might be a judge. Those are all kind of interesting. I don't know what some of those who those characters are, but it seems like this might be a place for them. Look like a scroll. I think it could be a scroll or it could be a dark elf. It really depends on the situation, I think. But either way, it might be they're in court and she realizes the judge is not who the judge says he is or she is. So, but I think we're getting a lot of cameos. This reminds me a little bit of the second season of Jessica Jones, where she gets that guy that comes in and explains that, they're after him. He's got superpowers and she doesn't believe him. And it turns out he's the Wizard, which, yes, is one of the worst superhero names ever. But it's a speedster's name. There was a point, not a lot of people remember this, but there was a point in time that the Wizard and Miss America were believed to be Wanda and Pietro's parents. Yeah, they have retconned the hell out of Wanda's family. So, but yeah, Wizard and Pietro were a Wizard and Miss America were once considered Wanda and Pietro's parents, and the Wizard showed up as a minor character in Jessica Jones. That kind of started a storyline, but they killed him like that. And I have a feeling it's going to be similar here, where we'll get a lot of the more jokey villains and characters popping up, like the Frogman. This would be a great place for Howard the Duck to cameo. White Rabbit. I mean, just there's a lot of silly characters that have popped up over the years when they weren't trying to be too serious. So yeah, it would be neat to see. It's going to be neat to see which characters they do bring in, and it's going to be kind of a mix. It's probably going to be, Easter egg cameos of characters like Frogman, and then there'll be more serious cameos like. Let me see if Seth Green is on the IMDb. But yeah, and Howard the Duck did appear in the She-Hulk comic series. So again, it's not that far-fetched, and they do like to pop that character up every once in a while. So that would be an interesting crossover. But yeah, I think we're going to get a lot of little cameos because this is a 9-episode series, and it's sitcom style, or it's comedy style, half-hour comedy. So I kind of get the feeling that sometimes the episodes may be a little more self-contained or maybe paired. Like 2 episodes tell one story, another 2 episodes tell another story, and we'll have the overall arc, but we'll have little court cases here and there. I don't think it's going to be something like Murder in the First, where we have one court case that takes up the entire series. I think it'll be a little more piecemeal, where Jen's story is the overall arc, but we'll see stuff like, okay, maybe she's focused on her abilities in the first episodes, and then we get Wong and Blonsky, and then we get Frogman, and just kind of going down the line. So I think we're going to get quite a few different heroes and villains popping up. No Seth, but there are 5 actors listed without character names. Good to know. Yeah. So yeah, expect some fun in this series. I'm looking forward to it more now than I was before the weekend. I kind of looked at it as, well, I'll have something to talk about for 9 weeks. It'll fill up one of the shows. We'll be able to chat about it. No big deal. After that trailer and then this featurette, I'm a lot more excited about it. I'm still mixed on the CG, because I know a lot of people looked at the first one and went, oh, that was horrible. And I was like, it's okay. And now a lot of people look at this new trailer and go, oh, it's so much better. And I go, oh, it's okay. There's a couple parts that look weak to me, and other parts that look great. Hulk looks awesome through it. And I think it's because they have Hulk down. They know where they're still figuring out Jen. Because, you know, if you put too much, it's kind of like with art, too. When you're drawing a character, if you put too many lines and stuff on a woman's face, it makes her look older, or it just takes away from the beauty of the character, where guys, you can kind of scribble in a lot more lines and a lot more pores and stuff like that. And it doesn't really, it just makes them grittier. So it might be they're still trying to find that happy medium on her. And in some cases they've got it. And there's the scene in particular that sticks out to me, and I mentioned this the other day, is where Wong is visiting her in her office. And, you know, she talks about how, well, she does things by the book. And he goes, the Book of Ashanti. And then they show her behind her desk, and she's like, no, the Book of American Law. And her face just looks too artificial at that point. It's that uncanny valley point for me. Yeah, Edward says the same thing. It looks a little too cartoony for my liking. Kind of reminds me of the first Hulk movie with Bana. Eric Bana, yeah. And again, it's not 100%. It's not always. But there are those moments that look a little too cartoony to me. But it's her character. The Hulk character looks fine. So, like I said, it may be they're still tweaking it, and maybe they're still going to be tweaking it until the show airs. You know, I mean, we're looking at August 17th, so we're still 3 weeks away. They use the Hulk movie in art universities as case study in what not to do. I can believe that. Yeah, that first Hulk movie. The Ang Lee Hulk movie, I think Ang Lee didn't have the idea of what a comic book movie was. So he said when he wanted to make a comic book movie, he thought about putting in panels, and just he may not have been the right choice for it. I don't know. I think they did a much better job with the Ed Norton version that has now rolled into being Mark Ruffalo. So, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I like what I'm seeing so far, and I'll get used to the CG, and it might, like I said, it might improve in the next 3 weeks, but the humor looks pretty good to me. The action looks good. You know, I think it's when they're trying to do facial expressions on her that really take me out of it. But the action and stuff all look good. So we shall see. I think they've got the right idea. They're not trying to make this serious. They're trying to do this like the comics were, you know. Edward said, yeah, definitely I enjoy the Norton Hulk movie. I think that was an underrated film. I think it's better than people give it credit for. And it's one of those that occasionally everybody should go back and rewatch it. Because there's some really good stuff in there. Good moments. There's some good humor. Him looking at the purple stretchy pants and the interjection of the Hulk TV series theme song, Don't Make Me Hungry, You Wouldn't Like Me When I'm Hungry, those things. So, all right, we are going to take our first break, and when we come back, we will start talking about the newest episode of Only Murders in the Building. We'll be right back.
Did you know that every Experience show, including some exclusive content, streams on Twitch? Check it out, twitch.tv/the_EXP. Or just scan that QR code.
Comic Collectibles is here for you every Wednesday with AR Comics for two very important reasons. To sell you rare, one-of-a-kind comics that you'll love, and to confuse AR with old man talk. You see, Rex and John are, how should I put this, ancient as the roots of the mountains. So every week, Rex and John fill in AR in yet another area of pop culture that he missed because he's too young, just didn't have the time, or just really doesn't care about. It's a real public service they provide. Come buy some super rare and unique comics, while old men explain long-dead sci-fi shows to a younger man making that confused puppy face. Every Wednesday from 6 to 8 Eastern with Rex, John, and AR Comics. Comic Collectibles on The Experience. Comic Culture and Sales.
There's something for every imagination at your local comic shop. Visit comicshoplocator.com to find a store near you.
There's a super new way to support your friends over at The Experience. Head over to YouTube and send us a super chat, a super sticker, or a super thanks. We'll be super grateful for your support. And then keep an eye out as we launch membership services over on YouTube. It'll be a great way to get first look access at new content and shows before anybody else. Keep your eyes peeled and make sure you're following us on YouTube.
During commercial breaks, I pop over and take a look at the news, the entertainment news, because, I don't think you guys care if I come back and tell you what's going on with the interest rate and how the Fed raised it 0.75% to try to offset inflation without going so big as to bring up recession. I don't think you guys want me to cover that. If you do, let me know, but I'm guessing no. So I pop over and check the entertainment news, and I'm always curious when you get a headline like Aldous Hodge, the new Hawkman in the upcoming Black Adam movie, is talking about how excited he is to work with Viola Davis as Amanda Waller in the Black Adam movie. And how he talks about the character like it's far more than just a cameo. Now, after this last weekend, and we watched Warner Brothers just pretty much pale in comparison to Marvel. I mean, it is pretty pitiful what they put out. I mean, yes, they put out two pretty interesting trailers for two pretty interesting movies. If you are a fan of Shazam or Black Adam, then you got the trailers and they were good, but they had opportunities to really lay out what was going to happen over the next year. I mean, we don't know if there's going to be a DC fandom. There really isn't another event for Warner Brothers that matches Comic-Con. It's not like with Marvel. Marvel can do they can do Hall H, and then they can go do D23. They can swing by, maybe throw a few bits of out in New York, and then do the investor meeting. And they're going to get constant coverage for all that. Warner Brothers has, basically for DC, you've got Comic-Con. And they came out and stubbed their toe. They said, oh, yeah, we got those things. They didn't talk. Ed asks about a sequel to Batman. We know that's in the works, but not a clue about it, not a word about it. We know there's a Joker sequel in the works with Lady Gaga. Nothing. They didn't even talk about that. A lot of people say, well, they don't want to mention Aquaman and The Flash because of Ezra Miller and Amber Heard. Well, if they were so worried about Ezra Miller, then why in the opening few seconds of the Shazam trailer do we see Ezra Miller's The Flash and Jason Momoa's Aquaman before showing us Ben Affleck's Batman? So you've already got, like, my point is that this would have been a perfect opportunity for Warner Brothers to come out and say, this is what we're doing. We have a plan. We're making this. We have Blue Beetle coming up. We have Batgirl. We have we have The Flash. We have Aquaman. We have these other 2 movies that are going to be in theaters soon. We have this long-term plan. We are going to get more Peacemaker. We're going to get another series. All this stuff they could have came out with and didn't. And I know that David Zaslav has come in with Discovery, and he's restructured the way Warner Brothers works, and he's put in the format for them to bring in somebody like a Kevin Feige to steer the ship. But they don't have that person. And I don't know why they don't have that person. There are enough people out there that could do that job, that know the DC universe and understand what fans want enough. But there's all these open questions out there, and you're not giving your fan base a direction. So that allows half of them, or whatever percentage of it, that's out there going, oh my God, we're going to go back to, Henry Cavill's going to be there. He's up there. Henry Cavill's going to be at Comic-Con. No, Henry Cavill wasn't there. Oh, well, then maybe they had a problem with the deal behind. There's just so much speculation going on, and it's eating up the fan base because you have half of them wanting to go back to the Snyder Cut, and the other half want to move on from it. And it's like, are we in? Are we not? Are we getting rid of Zack Snyder but keeping some of the actors? Where is their plan? Everybody loved Henry Cavill as Superman. They just didn't like how Zack Snyder handled some of the bits of it. It was darker than they wanted, or he shouldn't have killed Zod. I didn't care. I actually was fine with it, but they just don't seem to have a plan, and they desperately need one because they have these properties that they could really do great stuff with. But instead they do these fledgling things, and there's no captain at the helm. And that should have been Zaslav's first order of business, to get someone to be that person. They tried to have Jeff Johns do that a few years ago, but they didn't give him the authority to go with the job. And that is the problem. They haven't been giving the authority to the person. So you end up with these crazy things like having your big announcement panel just showing 2 trailers, and that's it. Edward says, I don't understand why Warner Brothers can make brilliant animated movies but struggle to make good movies. I really enjoy the Batman, and the first Shazam is fun. The rest, meh. I think the answer to that is simple, is that when it comes to the animated movies, they go, oh, you want to make an animated movie? Yeah, go ahead. We'll be over here looking at the important stuff. And then they bring out a good animated movie. But then when it comes to an actual movie, everybody at Warner Brothers is like, no, it should be this way. No, it should be this way. No, it should be this way. Well, we have to do this. We have to do that. Oh, we got it done. Oh, no, that's not going to work. We got to change that. No, you can't change. There's no single person in charge, where they don't seem to care about the animation studio. So they let the creative people make the movies. But, Warner Brothers is constantly changing things once it's done. And we're seeing that in all the movies. We saw that in the first Suicide Squad movie. We saw that in Justice League, which is, oh, well, we're going to bring in So, we're going to bring in Joss Whedon to fix what Zack Snyder did. Did he fix it? Did they give him the ability to fix it? Did they give him the opportunity? Or did they just tell him, make it better quick? I think Warner's is going to continue to be, and it's going to continue to be an S show until they actually get someone to be their Kevin Feige. And I would love to say, they need someone to be their studio chief, or they need someone to be X, Y, or Z. But at this point, a Kevin Feige is what they need. Someone who loves the industry, loves the characters, is willing to allow the creative people to do their job, but is still able to kind of rein things in to bring a cohesive universe together and to make suggestions like, hey, it'd be cool. Let's put Hercules at the end of Thor. Or, hey, let's get John Krasinski to be Reed Richards. The fans will like that. Those are Kevin Feige moves. Not someone who's a director, not someone who's actually making the movies, someone who can sit back, make the decisions, and just get it done. And, every time I see new information like, oh, yeah, well, Amanda Waller is going to be huge in the Black Adam movie. Well, are we still in that universe? Which universe are we in? Who is Superman? Who is Batman? Why do we have Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton showing up in Flashpoint? And then we look at Batgirl, and it's J.K. Simmons as Commissioner Gordon. It's like, okay, and it's going to have Michael Keaton as Batman. Wait, what? What? Why? Why are they making it as confusing as possible? It doesn't seem to be doing anything towards making a cohesive universe at all. They're just making it worse. And until they find somebody, and as I said yesterday, Jay, yeah, I would absolutely do the job, but I would have to be allowed to have the authority to do the job. And whoever they put in there needs to love the characters, love the process of making movies, allow the creators to be creative, yet still know how to put out a good movie. And there are people out there that can do that, but they've got to find one and not jam a business person in there or just, yeah. Yeah, I go on about this a lot because there's so many good characters in the DC universe. There's so many good stories they could tell. And there's so many good actors that they've already got in there. The new Batman movie was great. I loved it. But I also liked Ben Affleck as Batman. And you could go, okay, this is a different Batman, fine. But you're just getting confusing. And then that Batman's over there. And then you've got a Joker over here. And then you've got the other universe going on. But you're bringing in another Batman. It's like, figure out what you're doing. Let your fans know. And then go in that direction. Don't just keep it all hush-hush. I mean, Marvel just came out and gave us the biggest complaint everybody was having about Phase 4 was it seemed to be rudderless. It seemed to be like, well, what are we doing? Well, it turns out Phase 4 was all about setting the new things up and the aftermath of Endgame, and we can see that now. We can see all the therapy sessions that they had after losing so many friends and stuff. And now it's like, oh, and they introduced Kang, and we can see the multiverse thing, and it's all going to build into Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. All right, we got it now. We got the direction. We see where you're going. You've given us all of Phase 5. We're excited about that, except for you got that one movie slot missed. And then we got Phase 6 to look forward to, and then that's going to be wrapped, so we're good. Let's move on. DC, it's like, yeah, we're going to give you Black Adam and Shazam, and then, yeah, there's other stuff, but we're not going to talk about it. we're just gonna hey, look, The Rock's in a costume. Edward says they're all over the place until they decide to bring some structure and organization to their projects. It's going to be one decent movie out of 10. Yeah. Yep. Until they figure out what they're doing. And if they just want to break away from it, then break away from it. But, either commit or move on. Okay? This is like the worst relationship I've ever seen in my life. It's like either break up or get married. Just make your choice. So, all right. Wasn't going to go on that rant, but I thought it was necessary, especially, again, they're continuing to do it. So let's talk about Only Murders in the Building. We are in episode 6, and I am absolutely loving this show. Every episode just gets better and better. And this one, they keep finding new people to make the centerpiece of the episode. And that's kind of the interesting thing that they've been doing with the show is every episode comes from a different person's point of view. Now, it's not only them, but it's kind of told from their point of view. And this one we actually get from, I think her name is Penny. I think it's Penny. Let's see. Cinda Canning's assistant, Poppy White, who's played by Adina Verson. And she is Tina Fey's assistant. And it's kind of her finding somebody from Mabel's past. And they're digging a lot into Mabel's past. And this whole episode, coming out of episode 5, it seemed like this episode was going to be all about poor Oliver discovering that maybe his son's not his son. That maybe Teddy, who is going to screw him, not the term he used in the episode repeatedly, but actually did it earlier. Let me get this. Let's see. Edward says, maybe Disney will buy WB. Imagine the doors that would be open. Oh, God. That would just become a mess. And JD says, so true. Total failure. The only thing I'll give Ang Lee is that it's been the closest display of his power strengths from the comics. Yeah. Horrible end fight, though, with the giant lightning creature. At least the Abomination fight was something we could see and understand. But, okay. So going into this episode, it thought we were going to get the paternity test that Oliver took. And he takes the paternity test in the beginning. And then we go through the whole episode, and we never actually get to the paternity test. Edward, this is called Only Murders in the Building. It's on Hulu. It's Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez. It's in the second season. First season was fantastic. They renewed it immediately. This is the second season. We're 6 of 10 episodes in, and they've already renewed it for a third season. So I really, if you like murder mysteries, this is a great show. And the whole premise is that they are true crime podcast fans who discover that there's a murder that took place in their building. And they do a podcast to try to solve it in the first season. And then at the end of the first season, someone else gets killed and they become suspects. So now they're trying to solve this murder and clear their own names. Which means that by the end of this season, the third person is probably going to die. And it has to be in the building because the whole premise is they only do podcasts about murders in their building. That's why it's Only Murders in the Building. And there's a competing podcast, which comes up in this one, run by Tina Fey's character. Man, what is going on with that? Okay. Cinda Canning. Well, they bring in this guy who claims that Mabel tried to cut off his finger back when they worked together at. I didn't go to Comic-Con. I did not know. No. I just got a tickle in my throat. So, but this guy claims that back when they worked at Long John Silver's, yep, they mentioned the restaurant, that Mabel chopped his finger off and threw it into a deep fryer. Now, she tells the story differently, that he was getting handsy. She pushed him away, and he lost his finger in a meat slicer, which would make more sense if they were working at an Arby's, wouldn't it? Anyway, but this episode really piles on poor Mabel. And again, it felt like going into it, it was going to be an Oliver episode, but it's actually a little bit more. Charlie gets a lot of stuff going on, and then we get the Mabel stuff. Charlie has to break up with his girlfriend, who's his ex-girlfriend, who tried to murder him, who's currently in prison. But he doesn't have the courage to actually break up with her. So he sends his stunt double, played by Jane Lynch, which I think is an amazing moment because he writes this letter, and Sting is not in season 2. That's the sad part, Jeff. They actually, Sting ends in season 1, and they replace Sting. Sting moves out to go on tour in Africa or whatever, and Amy Schumer moves in. So Amy Schumer is in the penthouse now. But yeah, so he sends Jane Lynch's character, his stunt double from his old Brazos show, to break up with her. And it's such a great scene because she's reading his letter, and it is breaking up, and Jan is like, "Oh, I can't believe he sent you," and all this stuff. And she starts getting into this details, and it gets kind of saucy, kind of hot. And Jane Lynch's character stops and goes, "It gets a little more in detail here. Is this doing much for you?" And Jan's like, "Yeah, it kind of is." She goes, "I'll keep going then." And it's like just an odd moment in the scene, but it's like very funny. And then, but also we see him filming the new Brazos, and not sure exactly what you would call her, Lucy, who is his former stepdaughter, stepdaughter, who's kind of back in this now, is there. So you've got his whole thing going on, and they figure out that whoever told them at the end of the first season to get out of the building was actually probably the killer, or they think it's the killer. So I love this. They text them thinking it's the detective because they have this matchbook with a fingerprint on it and possibly blood that they think is a clue. But they realize that the detective is actually out of town, so that whoever they're communicating with isn't the detective. So instead of leaving this piece of clue for them, they leave a glitter bomb so that they can then find this person because they're covered in glitter. And Oliver makes this glitter bomb, and it's so over the top that it like not a little poof glitter, more like boom glitter. I believe he used a little C4 in the making of the glitter bomb, which I'm not even sure where Oliver would have got some C4 from, but good on Oliver. And so that's the build-up. And then, of course, they miss when it happens, and the guy runs off, so they can't catch him. But Mabel gets upset because she finds out that Charles is still kind of seeing Jan. And Jan is not only the one who tried to kill Charles, but she also killed Mabel's friend. So when That's season 1. Broadway producers can get anything exchanged for tickets. That is probably true. Yeah, I got front row center for Hamilton. Can I get that M60? Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's an interesting episode. But then we see things kind of continue to unravel for Mabel. So she's got this old thing from her past popping up on the other person's podcast. Then she finds out that Charles is still kind of involved with Jan. And she goes off to be alone, and she goes to her friend Alice's house, who we learned last week isn't who she appears to be, but still is lying, even though she's supposed to have come clean. And Mabel goes over to Alice's house and discovers that Alice has made her entire apartment look like Mabel's place to reenact the murder, has people dressed up like the murderers, and is now dressed as Mabel. And yeah, so Mabel's not doing well to walk in on that. She storms out of there, ends up on the subway car, and sees a guy covered in glitter. And things just go worse from there. And it's a very intriguing episode because it really kind of shakes things up, really digs deep into Mabel's stuff, digs deep into Charles. And then we get to the end, and Oliver's sitting there waiting for the paternity information. And instead they get this footage from his son showing Mabel looking like she may have killed somebody. And it's like, oh my God. So this is just an amazing episode. We'll talk about what's I think might happen next right after we do a quick commercial break. We'll come back and we'll finish up. Be right back.
Get the inside scoop on everything happening at the experience every week. Join our mailing list by scanning the QR code at the bottom of the screen and then watching your email inbox.
To be continued. 3 little words that hold the secret to the next great story. 3 words that will thrill you, confound you, give life to new possibilities. Every variation of To Be Continued is a promise of adventure, a promise of excitement, a promise of unseen wonders and unexplored worlds. A promise that every issue you read makes you a part of a never-ending journey, and behind every page there will be an unopened door waiting for you. This story to be continued at your local comic book shop today. Visit comicshoplocator.com today.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. We are talking Only Murders in the Building. And remember to stick around. Right after this is Comics Collectibles with Rex and John and AR Comics. And today they got some pretty cool books. They've got some books signed by, I got it right here. Let's see. Oh, nope, that's not the one I wanted. There we go. There are books from signed by Dan Slott, Scott Snyder, Mark Wade, Joe Rubenstein, and Greg Pak, plus some more great commission cover sketches by Ken Hazer. So definitely stick around. There's some good books up for offer, and you might want to get yourself one. So huge Christmas in July deals. Christmas in July. You know why you have Christmas in July? Because it's too cold for snowball fights in December. It's much warmer in July. That's an old Bugs Bunny thing. So where are we going with Only Murders in the Building? I remember this part of season 1, and the killer was kind of introduced a few bits during the first season, but then we really don't see much of them. I mean, they were just teased, and then we got a lot more of the killer in the last half. Now we're in this last half. There are 10 episodes, so it's kind of funny that this episode introduced us more to Poppy. And is she sycophantic enough to her boss to actually kill somebody to make it look like they had done it? Yeah, I could absolutely see her doing that. And I hadn't thought of Poppy as a possible suspect until this episode. And of course, she offers herself up for help at the end to help Mabel and them. But so keep an eye on Poppy. Normally what they do is they kind of give us a suspect and then take them away, and give us a suspect and take them away. So I think you got to put Poppy on the list. Other people on the list, well, those are going to be kind of weirder, but JD says Wednesday Warriors is live tonight at 9 as Eastern as well. Joey is back from Comic-Con talking about the secrets that haven't made it into mainstream news yet. By the way, my Facebook feed, after spending a week, I see people going, oh, I'm at Comic-Con. Oh, look at this person. There's a picture with them. Oh, I got this book. I got that book. Is now, yep, I tested positive. I tested positive. I tested positive. No, I haven't tested positive yet. So expect the slowdown of work from people in the industry for the next few weeks. And editors, if you're listening, I can write fast, and I was not at Comic-Con, so I'm available. Yeah, so we got 4 episodes of Only Murders in the Building left. We've been given a lot of different clues, but this season has been kind of a little all over the place. So our suspects, is Lucy a suspect? Hire this man, you fools. Thank you. So Lucy may be a suspect. Poppy might be a suspect. They've eliminated a lot of the other suspects, but it's going to be, I think, by next episode, if there's somebody we're getting more and more screen time with, that's who you got to start paying attention to. So, heck, maybe the stunt double, maybe Jane Lynch's character. She popped back up this episode, Saz Pataki. She might be a potential. I think Alice is too much of an obvious. I would worry about that. Detective Krebs is kind of an interesting one. Michael Rappaport's character. Would they bring him in to kill? See, that's, I don't know. There's some interesting potential there. But I think next episode we'll start being able to see who the killer might be. The suspects will become clearer. It's just kind of the format of the show. So I think next week when we talk about it, we could start putting together some suspects. That could be fun. So, and then tomorrow we're going to talk about. I wonder, Saz, very close to Zaz. Yeah, that is true. That is definitely true. So tomorrow we are going to talk about the new Russo movie, the Russo brothers, on Netflix called The Gray Man, which stars Ryan Gosling, Chris Evans, Ana de Armas. I know I'm pronouncing that name wrong. I'm probably slaughtering it. Billy Bob Thornton, Jessica Henwick, and Regé Jean Page. I mean, it's a pretty interesting cast. And they just announced that they're going to build a universe around this movie. So there's a sequel in the works. There's going to be spin-offs. So The Gray Man is going to be kind of a big thing, whatever they call this universe is going to be. But JD says the sequel will be much sexier. 50 Shades of The Gray Man. If someone asked you to compare this show to a show of the 80s, what show would you compare it to? You're talking about Only Murders in the Building? I don't know if there is a comparable show for it, because it is a straightforward murder mystery, but it's also a comedy. And I don't think there's anything else like it. Because they are treating the murder mysteries as serious murder mysteries. And they give you serious clues and have these intense moments, but then they have the next thing that brings it back into comedy. Murder, She Wrote, maybe, because it's got that pacing, but it's got the humor too. So like I said, I don't think there's anything in existence that really matches it. That's why I think it works so well, because Columbo meets Love Boat. Maybe Sledgehammer, if you then added actual, like Sledgehammer done by Dick Wolf, where the crimes, are based off of real events, but the humor's in there too. Only Murders on the Cruise Ship. I like that idea. That would be interesting. Yep. The floating petri dish that is the cruise ship. All right, guys. We're going a little long here, so I need to wrap this up. Thank you for watching. Stick around for Comics Collectibles coming up right after this. Come back tomorrow, and we'll talk about The Gray Man. So you got your assignment. Watch The Gray Man tonight so we can talk about it. Good night, everybody.
Did you know that every Experience show, including some exclusive content, streams on Twitch? Check it out. Twitch.tv/the_EXP.